Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Before starting this learning slide, wish we respect Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Farid, who taught us the subject of Network and Information Management System. My name is Muhammad Hisham bin Othman, number metric 1181637 from MPC 1. My group is including my teammates, Abdullah Faiz bin Murshid and Muhammad Danish bin Mahasan. Will present on the topic of network, media and devices. So the issue we want to related to the topic is about deciding on the best media network. So what is the network? A network is a collection of computers, servers, mainframes, network devices, peripherals, and other devices connected to one another to allow the sharing of data. So a network consists of two or more computers that are linked in order to share resources such as printers and CDs, exchange files, or allow electronic communications. So the example of network is an easy example of network is the internet. A global computer network providing a variety of information and communication facilities consisting of interconnected networks using standardized communication protocols. So there are many others examples such as the World Wide Web, citation networks, language networks, and others. So why did we choose the issues? So we choose the issues because we want to know which way is the best way to connect to a network in order to obtain the fastest connection. Let's start with the obvious. When installing network cable, you want to avoid high traffic areas. In other words, don't put your cable where people will be working. So why we emphasize the issues is because the objective. So our objective is to obtain a fast network, and then the cost effective, and the last one is connectivity range. So all these objectives are to get the satisfactions to the users of network. That's all for me. So we will continue with Abdullah Faiz.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Abdullah Faiz bin Murshid, metric number 1181639. So, thank you to my friend Hisham. Just now, he explained on the introduction of network. And he also tells us on why did we choose this topic and the objective of our investigation on this topic. So, for now, I would like to discuss on the findings uh, of our issue. So the topic of our issue is deciding on the best network media. So what did we find? So we found four media that are used in networking, and I will tell you first on what did we find, and I will explain the advantages and disadvantages of each one of them. So firstly, we have the coaxial cable. Coaxial cable or coax is a type of electrical cable consisting of an inner conductor surrounded by a concentric conducting shield, with the two separated by a dielectric, that is an insulating material. Many coaxial cables also have a protective outer sheath or jacket. The term coaxial refers to the inner conductor and the outer shield sharing a geometric axis. So coaxial cables are commonly used on old televisions. It's quite rare to see them nowadays, but there are still people who still use coaxial cable. But in the past, people use it commonly, especially in TVs. Secondly, we have the shielded twisted pair cable. The shielded twisted pair cable is a special kind of copper telephone wiring used in some business installations. An outer covering or shield is added to the ordinary twisted pair telephone wires. The shield functions as a ground. So shield function as the ground means that the shield is neutral. Um, so the shielded twisted pair cable, commonly used in old telephones or wiring telephones, where we used to commonly press on the buttons, the one that telecom used to provide us with. So thirdly, we found the unshielded twisted pair cable. So what is the unshielded twisted pair cable? The UTP cable is a 100 ohm copper cable that consists of 2 to 100 to 1800 unshielded twisted pairs surrounded by an outer jacket. Means that so it's an unshielded twisted. The cable is untwisted and it is surrounded by an outer jacket, or an outer jacket that is like a plastic material that protects it. Um, they have no metallic shield, and this makes the cable a little bit small in diameter but unprotected against electrical interference. The twist helps to improve its immunity to electrical noise and EMI, that is electromagnetic interference. And finally, we have the fiber optic cable. A fiber optic cable, also known as an optical fiber cable, is an assembly similar to an electrical cable but containing one or more optical fibers that are used to carry light. So the optical fiber elements are typically individually coated with plastic layers and contained in a protective tube suitable for the environment where the cable will be deployed. So talking about fiber optic cable, nowadays we are that's quite popular on fiber optic. Before we only have Unify, but now we have Cellcom, we have Maxis, we have other telcos that provide fiber optic cable to provide the fastest internet connection. Oh, my bad. So next, we will go to our observations. So I will only tell on two parts of the observation, that is for the coaxial cable and the shielded twisted pair cable. And the other two parts will be continued by my other team member, Danish. So and I'll pass it to him later. So now let's go to coaxial cable. The advantages of coaxial cable is that it is easier to install, and secondly, it is small in diameter, so it costs less. Sorry. And lastly, it's shielding when grounded, so it has to be buried. Reduces EMI, electromagnetic interference, and RFI, radio frequency interference. So the disadvantages of coaxial cable is that it is more expensive than twisted pair cable, and it does not support high-speed transmission, which does not support high-speed transmission means that it is slow. So I think it's not quite favorable to use it in this era where we need high-speed connection, especially for our class. So, secondly and finally, for my part, is that the shielded twisted pair cable. The advantages: shielding reduces EMI and RFI, means the insulated part helps in reducing electromagnetic interference and also radio frequency interference. Secondly, it can be used with RJ, registered jack. It's a connector that is quite cheap and commonly used. You can find it in your home. I think there are still ports in our house, in old house. I don't think new house, but I think new house also have, but I don't know. And instead of using the IBM hermaphroditic connectors, which is more expensive compared to the RJ. So the disadvantages is that it must be grounded properly. It is more expensive than the unshielded twisted pair. Of course, it is more expensive because it has a shielded part compared to the unshielded twisted pair that will be explained by Danish. So it is quite expensive. And lastly, it is difficult to terminate. So I think I have a lot more to talk about, but I think that's all for me for now. Inshallah, the other part will be continued by Danish. So I'll let him proceed. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Muhammad Danish bin Mahasan. Metric number 1181642. I'm Shili Twister Pair Cable. Advantage. First, it is expensive and easy to install. They are less expensive than STP cable. 2. It easy to terminate. 3. Is widely used and tested. Next, it's easy to maintain and troubleshoot. Next, pet cable come precut in most popular LANs. Last, it support many network types. Example, used for telephone communication, used in 10-based network, and used in token ring network. Disadvantage, first, it is expensive in inference. 2. It's prone to damage during install in mishandle. 3. Is prone of to physical damage is routed to traffic areas and not projects. Last, this can limit are often manifestable and follows. Fiber optic cable advantage. First, it can be installed over long distances. Its comparison to copper in a network to longer recommended copper distances is 100 meter, which fiber is 2 kilometer. Second is provide lens amount of bandwidth. The amount of information that be transmitted per unit time of fiber over other transmission media is most significant advantage. Third is not specified to EMI or RFI. Last, it cannot to tap easily, so security is better. Disadvantage, first, it is the most advanced media to perhaps and install. And they have to install by the specialists. They are not the robot as to wires. Special test requirement of often required to obtain fiber. Second, it require approved and conduit to outside use. Third, you must match the cable types to the application. Last, straight installed guideline must to meet for the cabling to work certified. Suggestion to others, we highly recommended choose the fiber optic because first, it is designed to pass specific types of light wires over long distances with very lighter attenuation to term of signal loss over distances. Second, Kevlar, the material used in bulletproof vest, in typically use the strangle the cable and protect the glass fiber. Kevlar is extremely strong and resist to damage. Next, fiber optic media transmit data use light using other and laser light or a light emitting the LED as its light sources. Laser is the preferred source very long distance requirement over several kilometers because it typically emit the brittle light. But LED source are preferred in most general lens application because they are more common, less expensive, more reliable, and have a long project lifespan. Conclusion, to conclude, there are the different types of cable that are used to connect to the network. Each one of them have its unique trait and characteristic that lead to advantage and disadvantage of using it. User need to clarify their net before picking a cable to use the connect to the network, so that it may help is their work in their daily life. That's all for us. Thank you.